As we continue to put together this picture of Hollis Daniels, who, according to everythinglubbock.com, confessed to murdering an officer last night on the Texas Tech campus. We are learning more and more, it seems, as the minutes go by about Hollis Daniels. And joining us on the phones right now is a educator and tutor over at Texas Tech University. Charlotte Boyett joins us here on KFYO. Charlotte, thank you for joining us today. You have knowledge of Mr. Daniels, correct?
That's right. I tutored him a few times last year in the fall semester at Tech when he first started.
And what about Hollis Daniels? Did anything stand out about him? What kind of student was he? Obviously, he was coming to you for tutoring. Tell us just what you noticed about him.
Well, I first met with his parents. They came up to Lubbock to get him situated in the dorms and for the registration and, I guess, orientation, and they were looking for help for him. Apparently, he had some trouble in high school finishing all his work, and his mother kept insisting how intelligent he was, how smart he was, but he just wasn't motivated. And I said, okay, well, we'll see what we can do with him and try to encourage him. And I met with him only two or three times. It's been a year since then. He never really would respond to my texts, my emails, my phone calls to meet up for class, and except for those 2 times that we met. And I was just going to help him with the work that his teachers assigned him, and he just didn't seem to have any motivation. It was really Mom kind of driving it, but she was doing everything she could to help him be successful and have everything set in place. She hired me and, as far as I know, somebody else to help him. And there was some email back and forth between Mom and me that, he just wasn't responding, and she was apologetic and said she would try to help, to get in touch with him. But she said he was having a really hard time adjusting. I was reading in my emails this morning about that, and he was homesick and was having some other problems, I guess, adjusting to college life.
Did she ever mention anything about drug use or did he ever show any signs? I mean, I know you met with him twice, and I don't know how many kids you see every semester that roll through, but only seeing somebody twice. Something had to stand out about this guy to you, right?
Yeah, I didn't notice any actual signs of drug use. I only met with him a couple of times, and he just didn't seem very connected. He didn't seem very motivated or driven. He acted like he was kind of having to do that instead of wanting to. Like Mom was kind of acting like, you better do this or else kind of thing, but she was really trying to help him to be successful, and because he did have trouble in high school, and he was on a special program I believe it was through South Plains, but he was on the Tech campus, and he had to pass these very basic classes in order to become a full-fledged Tech student. I don't know if he ever passed, because I only met with him twice, and I never could get him to respond, to any more, or to commit to any more tutoring sessions after that. But apparently he's still on the Tech campus, so I guess he was able to pass those classes. But I know that he was struggling early on, but no, I never did see any, like he didn't show up high or drunk or anything, that I could tell. But
right.
It was just a couple times. He was he was kind of antsy, and just didn't seem like he was really into it.
What and I don't know how often you spoke to the parents. How involved were they? At least from your knowledge, how involved were they in his life up here at in Lubbock and at Texas Tech?
Well, Mom was my contact person. I met with both of them when they first came to Lubbock, and we met face to face. I didn't meet him, and he goes by the name Reid, Reid. So I was I noticed the picture, and I was like, that kid looks familiar. And then I started doing a little bit of research, and that's how I found. But he did go by Reid, as far as I know. And Mom goes by a different last name than he does, and so it was just a little bit confusing. But she seemed very, very focused and very, in touch with him, and she was very concerned for him, and she wanted, and Dad too. He didn't really talk a lot during our interview process, but Mom seemed to be the driving force, and a little bit of a helicopter is kind of the thought that went through my mind. But so I was. A
lot of parents are like that these days.
Yes, and I was curious to see. Okay, well, I hadn't met him yet, so I was curious to see what his motivation was whenever I met with him. And sure enough, it kind of my suspicions kind of were what I expected. He just really wasn't motivated at all.
Is that normal? Is that different than from what you normally see with the kids that you tutor?
No, I think it is a lot of the family dynamic. I think his parents are very successful. I know some of the rumors are he comes from a very well-to-do family, and that's possible. I don't know much about that. I didn't look into their history or anything, but, Mom was a full-time worker, and she traveled a lot. She's a travel writer, and I don't know what Dad did, but I'm sure he came from a good family and all that, but I don't know much about his background. But they were responsive to him. They were concerned for him, and they were just trying to set everything up in place to help him be successful. And I remember having the conversation with Mom, the rest is really up to him. He's on his own. He's grown. And she said, and I was even concerned about why he came this far away from home, with some of the concerns that she had. And she said maybe it would just be better for him if he was kind of out of the area, out of this, maybe out from under our control, I guess you could say. But I don't know. I'm sure that they're having a really hard time today.
Yeah. You had to feel for his parents. You definitely had to feel for his. How do you feel knowing what happened last night? That you obviously had a run in or a relationship education wise with this student. Was it kind of shocking?
I wasn't really shocked by it. I was just sad for him. That he. And, of course, the police officer and his family, but that he went down this path, that he chose to get involved in the drugs because everybody knows what that can do to people and, how it can just change your whole focus in your life. And you act out in ways that you wouldn't normally do if you were not involved in that, And so it's sad that he felt like that was the only, what he turned to. But, and especially with kids these days, that's pretty rampant. And maybe he didn't have a good support network. I don't know.
And something I wanted to ask you about, I know you're an educator and I know you tutor over at the university. And I don't know how open students are with tutors. Some students are probably very open. Other students are probably, they go in, they just, hey, I want to focus on this subject and that's it. I want to get out of here. And others maybe are very closed off, but do you know how big of a drug issue is at Texas Tech? I mean, this is, I know drugs, nobody likes to talk about it. Nobody likes to talk about drugs in schools, whether it's in high school or anywhere else. Do you have any insight as far as drug use over at Texas Tech?
I really don't, because I've only tutored a couple of students from Tech, but in the high school and even middle school, it's pretty common. It's pretty rampant. And the kids kind of don't see it as the potential it could lead to. They see it as something fun. They see it as they like to feel good, but as you get older, I guess you start using it for coping mechanisms, not only drugs, but alcohol too.
Yeah.
And little by little, you don't realize the impact that it can have on your life and on your family and your community. And I'm sure that he never envisioned that this would happen to him, or that he would end up doing something like this. But, it's just really unfortunate. But that's what happens whenever we choose to go down a path like that.
Yeah. Charlotte, I appreciate you coming on with us today. I'm going to put you on hold. My producer just needs to get a little bit of information from you, and we wish you the best. We thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.